Ladies and gentlemen, meet the better half.
Just a minute, ladies and gentlemen. May I interject a question here? Just one. Who is the better half, the husband or the wife?
Well, let's not argue. Let's find out as we get underway with another stormy session of the better half. The comedy quiz that spotlights the home life of Mr. and Mrs. America. Married couples are up here tonight to match their wits in a battle of brains, brawn, and beauty for the title of the better half of the family. And here's the little man who knows all, sees all, and says plenty, Tiny Ruffner!
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jack Berry. Well, Jack, who was our first couple tonight to toe the mark in the better half race for top honors here?
On their toes and waiting for the word go, Tiny, are Mr. and Mrs. Ehrlich of Brooklyn, New York.
No, you don't tell me. Good old Brooklyn. Well, welcome to the family fireside here, folks. How are you feeling, Mr. and Mrs. Ehrlich?
Fine.
And you, Mr. Ehrlich, how are you feeling?
A little shaky.
Little nervous, huh? Don't forget now to talk right into that microphone. How long you folks been married?
10 months. 10 months.
10 months?
Yes.
10 months. How many children have you?
None.
What? Well, wonderful.
None, I said.
Oh, none? Oh, well, that's an oversight that no doubt will be remedied later on. Just freshmen, eh? Okay. Now, before we start the fur flying here, let me see first how I can set you straight as the cards stack up for this better half business. We're going to give you a series of tests with cash awards for each, and the one winding up with the more money at the end is without doubt the better half of the family. Does that sound fair to you, Mr. Ehrlich? Huh?
Yes.
He didn't answer. You are the better half at this juncture, there's no question. Okay, suppose you put your brains to work first. Here's an easy question to start you off for $2. Both of you go after it. First one to answer it correctly is the winner. Think of a popular old song now and tell me, what would you be doing while I hitched old Dobbin to the shay? No help from the audience, please.
Blue bonnet.
No.
Riding in a carriage.
No, the bonnet.
You'd be putting on your
bonnet.
That's right. You'd be putting on your old gray bonnet with the blue ribbons on it. That's correct. Mrs. Ehrlich gets the $2. Nice going, little lady. And now for $3, and this one is not so easy. It's a 2-syllable word we're looking for this time. Let's see who can figure it out first. The first syllable is a vehicle. New York's full of them. The second is a preposition. The whole word is a part of a ship. What is the word? Remember that the first syllable is a vehicle. New York is full of them. They're usually painted yellow or orange. What is that?
Bus.
No. Now, you're not a bus, but you're close. You're close. It's a means of transportation. It's a vehicle. It's got 4 wheels. It's yellow. Sometimes it has checkers on it. Fellows with little caps on it.
A cab.
A cab. Now, what's the second syllable? It's a preposition. It's a part of a ship, the whole word. A preposition.
Cabin.
What cabin is correct, Mr. Ehrlich? Nice going, and that gets you $3. Nice going. Now, let's turn our attention this time to geography for this quiz. 4 parts to the question, each worth $1. I want you to tell me what color is associated with the following. For instance, if I should happen to say mountains, you could answer green, white, Blue Ridge, green mountains, white mountains, or so forth. You got the idea? All right, here we go. What color is suggested by a sea, S-E-A?
Blue.
Green.
No, that isn't correct. Neither of those are right. There's no blue sea, there is no green sea, but there are other colors.
Red Sea.
Red Sea is correct. That gets you $1. Now, what color is suggested by a famous English cliff?
White.
That's right. What cliffs are they?
White Cliff, Dover.
That is correct. That's right. Now, what color is suggested by a natural park?
Yellowstone.
Absolute. Yellow is the word. Get you another
She's a
$1.
traveler in the
She's
family.
all right. She's been around, hasn't she? All right. Now, here's another one. What color is suggested by a city in New Jersey? It's the one word that you cannot rhyme. I don't care how hard you try. It's a city in New Jersey. There's an east, there's a west.
Orange.
That is correct, Mr. Ehrlich, and gets you another $1. Okay, now $5 at stake this time, and we'll deal with rivers. There are 10 large rivers in the United States that bear the names of states. Let's see who can get 3 of them first. $5 at stake now.
Ohio.
1.
Mississippi.
Mississippi. That's 1 apiece. Go right ahead. Now, I need 3 from one of you. What is the Mississippi? What comes away from the Mississippi? What makes it the longest river in the world? Stretches way up into Canada. No help from the audience. What?
St. Lawrence.
St. Lawrence is not in the United States. I'm sorry, it's on the border. These are within the United States precisely. Let us go on. We have one apiece. You've overlooked a lot of...
No.
What?
Missouri?
That is correct. That's 2 for you, Mrs. Ehrlich. You're
Nebraska, Omaha, Wyoming.
Now, wait a minute. Now, you're guessing now. One of them makes a very famous canyon. What river is that? It's in the state of Arizona. Makes a very famous
Colorado.
Colorado is correct, and Mrs. Ehrlich wins, and that gets you $5, Mrs. Ehrlich. Now let's take a look at how you folks made out in the mental department. We find that Mrs. Ehrlich has a grand total of $9, while her husband has but $5. So, Mr. Ehrlich, you are trailing at the moment. But for your last test, we're going to put $10 at stake, and we will be able to decide the issue. Do you recall everything you did for the past 9 months, let us say 10 months? Practically everything, you think? That's not too...
I suppose so.
Well, I think you do. Suppose you both go off stage to a nice quiet room with Jack Berry and see how much you can actually remember. And we'll bring you back here in just a moment. And by that time, we will be able to ask you some questions during those 9 months, which will display very cleanly how much you have remembered in those past 9 months. Now, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we want to try something. We want to see whether a husband or a wife will give the more logical answers when they don't know what the heck they're talking about. For instance, we're going to take the subject of eating, and I'm going to put some questions to the two of them about eating. And the one who gives us the more logical answers will win $10 more. But so that they don't know what we're talking about, we're going to twist that word right back around and call it T-A-E. T-A-E. See? And I'm going to call, every time I should be saying eat, I'll be saying tay. All right, Ed, signal Jack to bring him back in again, and we'll get into this thing here, and we'll see how logical the Ehrlichs are, whether it's the Mrs. or the Mr. who makes the best sense here. Right up to our microphone now, Mrs. Ehrlich and Mr. Ehrlich. Do you think you recall most of the things you did for the past... You?
Yep.
You do. Well, that's good. Fine. Now, I'd like to ask you some questions, if you don't mind. These questions may sound silly. I can't explain them, but you just give logical answers to something that you don't understand if you can. You simply answer the best you can. Whether you're right or wrong, you'll find out later. Mr. Ehrlich, suppose we start with you. When did you tay last?
When did I what?
I I'm sorry, Mr. Ehrlich. I said I can't explain. I simply want to know when. When did you tay last? Take a guess and see if you don't know.
About a year ago.
Remarkable fellow. Holds his physique well, too. You wouldn't think it. Now, Mrs. Ehrlich, when did you tay last?
Let me see.
Yeah, when did you tay last?
Never.
Never? I don't believe it. Well, neither of you came very close that time, but Mr. Ehrlich has a slight edge. At least he does tay sometime. Let's see how your answer ties in this time, Mrs. Ehrlich. If you did tay, what would you use?
Oh, if my husband tayed a year ago.
Yeah. What would he use?
Fish pole?
A fishing pole. Very novel. Very novel, particularly if you were a fish. Very novel. Well, all right. Now, let's see about Mr. Ehrlich. It's quite possible you could do that, but I've never seen it done. Mr. Ehrlich, what would you use to tay with?
A rake and a shovel.
A rake and a shovel. Not exactly good manners. Not precisely. Well, once again, we've got to admit you're doing better than your wife here, believe it or not. Now, just one more question, Mrs. Ehrlich. And I'll tell you this much, you actually do tay. You have to. Everybody does. Now, bearing that in mind, tell me the last time you tayed at home. Did you do it in the cellar, the attic, the bathtub, the sink, or the dining room?
I did it in the bathroom.
You did it in the bathroom? You had soup from the bowl in the bathroom, I guess. I don't know. Never heard of... Maybe an Indian found a spring in there and you sampled the same spring. I don't know. Most peculiar woman. Tell me, Mr. Ehrlich, where do you usually tay at home?
In the dining room.
Wonderful! Absolutely correct! Good guess. Wonderful. Now I'll explain these shenanigans to you, folks. The word "tay," when you turn it around, is eat. Is eat. You gave us the more logical answer, Mr. Ehrlich. The $10 go to you, and here's Mr. Barry to give us the final score in the Ehrlich family.
Well, whether it's tay or eat, it looks like Mr. Ehrlich has come out ahead because Mrs. Ehrlich wound up with $9 and her husband wound up with 15.
So, gentlemen, who's the better half of the Ehrlich family? The husband. Congratulations, sir. The better half honors of the family go to you, and along with it, this grand prize, a beautiful 17-jewel, world-famous Bulova Flight Commander. And may the rest of your married life sparkle as brightly as that brand new, beautiful Bulova you've just won. And Mrs. Ehrlich, well, I guess you know what's coming to you. A little seat in our second ratings row where you can observe the rest of our show in chagrined silence. And now, Jack, is our next couple all set to brave the wrath of the better half?
Sure thing. Up here to battle it out for the front place on their domestic scene are Mr. and Mrs. Camp of Astoria, Long Island.
I've never heard of a better location. Now, try not to answer at the same time, both right now, Mr. and Mrs. Camp, but which of you is without a doubt the better half of your family? Into the mic.
I am.
Oh, I see. That's good. I always like to have people both convinced that they're the better half because somebody always quite gets surprised and really turns out to be that. Now, let's go to work and see who walks off with the honors. Both of you sail right into these questions. Remember, the payoff is for speedy replies. We'll start you off with $2 and an easy question that goes like this. What famous group of men in fiction had for their slogan these words, "One for all and all for one"?
D'Artagnan, the
George
Three
Washington.
Musketeers.
Three Musketeers is correct. Who said it first? You said it first. George Washington was three men. I knew he threw $1 across the river, but I never heard of him dividing himself like an amoeba. Okay, that gets you the first $2 payoff here. Now, here's one for $3. Let's see which of you can do the better with this. I want you to tell me what animals are associated with the following. $1 for each animal. The movie Dracula brings to mind what creature or animal? The movie Dracula.
A bat.
Absolutely correct, Mr. Camp. That gets you another $1. Now, the stage success Harvey brings to mind what particular animal?
A rabbit.
That is correct, another $1. How about the opera Carmen? What animal does that bring to mind?
A bull.
A bull is correct. The man's just awful good, folks. Congratulations, Mr. Camp. I've got one here now that'll stop Mrs. Camp. Don't you worry. Now, you get in and get the $4 this time. What city and state are mentioned in this sentence? And this is for $4. Take home a hatchet for Washington's birthday. What city and state are mentioned?
Tacoma, Washington.
Correct, Mr. Camp, and that's another $4. Holy suffering cat. How did information, please, ever pass you up? I wonder. Now there's mystery in the air. $5 to the one who can guess from the numerous clues I'll give you what I am. And listen carefully. Now, there's nothing glamorous about me. I am as silent as the ancient Sphinx. My job is of a humanitarian nature, saving lives. But alas, my wise judgment not only goes unheeded at times by fools, but they actually beat me when I warn them of danger. Any guesses so far? No. Blank looks. Life around me revolves at a terrific pace. From east and west and north and south they come. I feel like a maypole, but with the twinkling of my eye, they stop and cuss me. What am I?
A traffic cop.
A traffic cop, that's close, but it isn't it. It's inanimate. I speak in colors of only 2 words. Some folks call me a silent policeman because I say stop and go. What am I? What am I?
A traffic light.
A traffic light is correct, Mr. Camp. That's practically a clean sweep. By George, it is a clean sweep, isn't it, Bill? Oh, shame, shame, Mrs. Camp. Oh, that's bad. That's the biggest goose egg I've ever
Can I get any
seen.
bonus for shutting her out?
Well, you haven't shut her out yet. We got another test coming up here for you. But you do lead by a score of $16 to 0. Now, for your last test, Mr. and Mrs. Camp, we want to see if a woman can really out-talk a man when we limit your vocabulary. I'm going to put some questions to the two of you. You can only answer them with words beginning with the letter B. A-B, the second letter of the alphabet. 5 questions in all. $2 to the first one to come up with an answer each time. Remember, though, you must answer with only one word each time, and that word must start with the letter B. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. There'll be $2 riding on each one of the questions. Now, here is the first one. What was the first thing you said to each other the first time you met? Starts with a B now. Must have a B. B. B.
Oh, baby.
That's very good. And what did you say, Mrs. Camp? Do you remember?
Baloney.
Baloney. Ah, the the man had a conquest in mind. He had to go after that girl. She wasn't giving in easily. All right, here's your second one. What do you talk about mostly now?
Babies.
Babies. Have you got any ideas on this? What do you talk about? Bed bugs. Bed bugs. Boy, that's really coming down far on the scale of humanity, from a baby to a bed bug. Well, what do you know? Here's your third one. What do you think of married life? B. No, starts with a B.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. That's better. Mr. Camp?
Bunk.
Bunk. A little late, but good. Now, here's your fourth one. A favorite breakfast food would be what? Starts with a B now. Remember, B. Favorite breakfast food starts with a B. Gotta be a B. Must be a B. Can't be anything else. Beans? Okay. Borscht? Beans and borscht? Well, I guess we'll have to accept those, although it's very odd to sit down to a plate of borscht, particularly if it's cold early in the morning. Here's your next one. Where is a good place to be alone?
The bathtub.
Bathtub, boy, are you right. Absolutely right, Mr. Camp, and that gets you $2 more. And now I'm going to ask our good friend here, Mr. Jack Berry, to step up here and read the total additions on the board over there and tell us what the final is in the Camp family.
Well, I'm afraid, Tiny, that Mrs. Camp is going to have to camp out tonight because she wound up with $5 and her husband wound up with 21.
So again, gentlemen, who's the better half of the Camp family? Congratulations, Mr. Camp. Along with the family honors, may we present you with a grand prize to remind you for the rest of your life that you are indeed the better half of your family. This lovely Bulova 17-jewel gift of a lifetime, a Flight Commander. Hope you enjoy wearing it. Very welcome, sir. And Mrs. Camp, you were an awfully good sport. You tried awfully hard, but still there is only one fate in store for those who lose on the better half, and that is to be relegated to our second raters row, where you may sit quietly and watch to the best of the folk. But just to make a second rater feel good, let's give her a little applause, shall we, huh? That's fine. That makes her feel better, I know. And now, is couple number 3 on tap, Jack?
That they are, a courageous couple rushing in where others fear to tread.
Yes?
Meet Mr. and Mrs. Pizer, who get this, Tiny, who live between Martinsville and Liberty Corners, New Jersey.
Can't make up their minds, huh? Well, that's fine. Glad to have you here, Mr. and Mrs. Pizer. Step right on that trap door there in front of the microphone. Make yourselves at home. How are you feeling, Mrs. Pizer?
Oh, fine.
And how long have you been married to Mrs. Pizer, Mr. Pizer?
30 years.
30 years, I see. And how long have you've been married the same length of time, I presume?
Yes, indeed.
30 years. How many months? You remember that? What's the date of your anniversary?
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. Well, I'm so happy that you're here so close to your anniversary. That will be your 30th or 31st?
30th.
Be your 30th anniversary. What does that mean in ways of anniversaries? What does that get you? China or what?
Why,
Pearl?
Pearls.
Pearls, is that right?
I'm not sure about that.
Well, there's no money on that answer,
No.
so nobody's going to worry about it. Mr. Pizer, you know, they say when a woman goes up in the air, she usually lands on her husband. So watch out here tonight, will you?
Okay.
Now let's open our bag of tricks and see what happens. Here's a question right on top, and it's marked $2. When daylight saving time goes into effect, do we turn our clocks upside down, inside out, forward, or backwards?
Backwards.
What?
Forward.
Forward is correct. A good second guess, Mr. Pizer. Turn them forward 1 hour is correct, and we'll be doing that April the 28th, I believe, or somewhere along about that time. Now for $3, I want you to name all the foods you can think of I'll give you an unlimited length of time here. All the foods you can think of that are eaten from the inside out. Now, like a pumpkin or a grapefruit. And I'm going to let you alternate this time, giving first you, Mrs. Pizer, then Mr. Pizer, then Mrs. Pizer, and the first one who runs out of things that you can eat from the inside out loses. Go right ahead, Mrs. Pizer.
Orange.
Correct.
Grapefruit.
That is correct.
Watermelon.
Very good.
Egg.
Egg, yes, indeed. Only wait.
Cantaloupe.
Cantaloupe is also good. Mrs. Pizer, cantaloupe.
Eggplant.
Eggplant, yes, you couldn't eat it from the outside in. Has to be cut open. Now, Mrs. Pizer,
Banana?
come on. Banana, yes, you have to eat it from the inside. Have to take the skin off it. Mr. Pizer?
Potato.
Potato, I'm going to question that. I'm going to question potato. Go right ahead now. Give me another if you can, but I'm going to question potato. And I'm going to count to 10. If you don't come up with 10, she wins on you. 1,
Come on, give me a cue.
2,
Pineapple.
3, what?
Pineapple. You said pineapple.
She said pineapple, but it's still your turn. Is she helping you?
A little bit.
She wants you to be the better half? Well, let's all go home. What's the sense of this whole thing here? Now, come on, get in and fight. 1, 2, 3.
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin. That's all right. I'll accept that. I don't remember any of saying that. Go right ahead now. I said that in the thing at the beginning. Go ahead. Pineapple, you said it. That's all right now, Mr. Pizer. 1.
Squash.
Very good. You see, you can go right on once you get started. Come on, Mrs. Pizer. 1. 2, 3, 4. She's slipping. 5, 6. She's falling. 7, 8, 9. She's practically flat. 9 and a half. 9 and 3/4. 9 and 7/8. 9 and 15.
Cucumber.
Cucumber. Well, all right. Go right ahead. Come on, Mr. Pizer. 1, 2, 3.
A gherkin.
Gherkin. Oh, no. Now, I always eat my gherkins straightforward. I don't sneak up on them and bore in at them. I eat them right bang like that. Come on, give us another one here. Got to do better than gherkin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Frankfurter.
Frankfurter. That's all right. You got to take the skin off of a Frankfurter if it's cellophane. I'll accept that. Come on, Mrs. Pizer.
A pomegranate.
What?
Pomegranate.
Pomegranate is very good. Now let's not neglect the citrus fruits. A lot we haven't mentioned.
right.
Go right ahead. What do you put in a Bacardi?
Guava.
Guava? That's all right. What do you put in a Bacardi? A little round thing, sometimes green with a touch of yellow.
Cherry.
No.
Olive.
You're thinking of Manhattan. I'm surprised. Plain to see you've never been a bartender. Olive? You have to eat to get at the seed. How are you going to eat the seed first and then come outside? What are you, a worm? That's a fine thing. Huh?
Can of beans.
Can of... That's the end. When a woman can get down to taking the can and eating it from the inside out, I quit. Chalk her up with the money over there. That's $2 I'm glad to see you get. And now for $3, I want... Oh, no. She got $3 that time. Now we're going on to $4. And 4 parts, the answers in each case must start with the word Jack, like Jack of all trades, Jack in the pulpit, and so on. Here we go. These are definitions. You tell me what they are. It's got to have a Jack in it. A graceful diver can do what?
Jackknife.
Very good, sir. A tortoise once beat a what in a race?
A hare.
No, it's got to have a Jack in it.
Jackrabbit.
That is correct. A very lucky day here. Now, on a lucky day, you might hit what kind of a pot?
Jackpot.
That is correct. Children get a big kick out of a what? Got to have a Jack in it.
Jack.
Jack?
Jack.
Jacks would be all right. Jacks is okay. I'll accept that. And the $3 goes to you, I believe, sir, and $1 to Mrs. Pizer. Well, Mrs. Pizer, we're losing ground here a little bit, but here's one for $5. This is your last one, and you really got to think about this. It's a compound word that we're looking for. 2 words compounded and used as one. Let's see who can figure out what it is. The second part of the word is practically made of the same material as the first. The first has the same name as a rabbit. The whole word is actually used to keep the first word in order. What is the word? Now, if I haven't confused you, I certainly haven't done a good job here.
You confused me.
I'll go right through it again. The second part of the word is practically made of the same material as the first. The first part of the word has the same name as a rabbit, only it's not a rabbit, it's the other name for it. The whole word is actually used to keep the first word in order. All right, now, I'll help you.
Hair.
Hair is the first part. Now, what's the rest part? The last part.
Hairbrush.
Hairbrush is correct, Mr. Pizer. Nice going. That gets you $5 more, and our congratulations. Let's take a look at that mental department. Well, it's a little closer this time. Mr. Pizer leads only by a score of 8-6 with the final round coming up. And Mrs. Pizer, I want you to get in here now and do your best because we want to get at least one man in that second Raiders row tonight, see? So for this last test, and before we go on with it, I'd like to speak, Mr. Pizer, to your wife alone, if I may. Oh, yeah. So take him away, Mr. Barry, and while he's out there, slip a raincoat and a hat on the man. You can never tell when it's going to rain these days. In fact, you can never tell from now when it's going to come through the top of the theater, the way it's raining outside. And now, Mrs. Pizer, he's away. We want to see how helpful a wife can really be. After 30 years, you've probably learned of a number of ways to help your husband. But none, I am sure, which will satisfy you so much as this way that you're going to help him tonight. When your husband comes back here, I'm going to read a little poem. Now and then I'll pause and ask your husband to fill in the missing words. To help him do that, Mrs. Pizer, we'll let you stand directly in back of him. Now, you can't talk to him. Can't talk, understand? But by insinuations only, you're to help him when you think he's stuck. Your insinuations will be on a table there right next to you. 4 in all, corresponding to the 4 words that he's got to fill in. From left to right on that table, I think you'll notice a cup of flour, a frying pan, a pitcher of water, and a nice, fresh, raw egg. Now remember, if he doesn't come right out with the answer, you toss him a gentle little hint by bouncing any one of those things there off his noggin, see? Each one is associated with one of the missing words, And be sure that you get the right one that's associated. See, otherwise the hint's no good. If he answers right away, your help will not be needed. But if he's stuck, you help him out. If he gets 3 out of 4 without your help, the $10 goes to him. If he needs your help, the money goes to you, and you will be the better half of the Pizer family. That's how important it is to you. Now, you go right over there and stand behind that chair, and we'll bring Mr. Pizer right back onto our stage here. Let's get him back now, shall we, Eb? Here he comes. Fella doesn't know what he's in for. He's got a hunch, though. Right up to the microphone, Mr. Pizer. Come on. Hey. Oh, that's all right there. Well, Mr. Pizer. What's the big idea of all the rubber goods?
Why don't you tell me?
Well, if you like it, you can wear it. In the meantime, I'd like you to sit down and make yourself comfortable there. You're making yourself comfortable?
Oh, yes.
I'm so happy to hear that. I want you to be comfortable above all other things. Now, I'm going to be poetical here tonight. I'm going to read you a lovely bit of poetry, Mr. Pizer. And I'd simply like you to supply the missing words. You're good at limericks?
Oh, very good.
Oh, you'll have no trouble at all. Remember, it's a poem, so the words have got to rhyme limerick style. Your wife is standing in back of you. She can't talk to you, but she'll help you all she can with some gentle hints. Remember, she can't talk to you, but she'll give you the idea, I'm sure, because she promised us that she would help you all through this test with hints if you get stumped.
Well, that's well.
Okay, now here we go. Listen carefully. Now, here's the poem. 'Tis spring, and each passing hour brings out a new
Flower.
Yeah, well, a little late. Now, here, you wouldn't have needed that hint, but she gave it to you at the same time that you got it, so you got it. All right, now let's go on with this next little bit of poetry. Oh, Mr. Pizer, she'll help you. Don't worry, she'll help you if you need it. Okay. The roses, the lilacs, and trees will soon be joined by the little...
Pansies.
Pansies, that's right. I'm so sorry you had to have those hints, though, Mr. Pizer. That was unfortunate. Because, you see, she had to help you. Well, see if you can get this one without any help now. The beautiful trees that cover the lane make it a shelter when it starts to...
Rain.
Mrs. Pizer, he did not need that hint. He was right on the beat. That is no fair. That's a fine thing. We apologize for Mrs. Pizer. Mrs. Pizer, I tell you what you've got to do. Take that water right back. Take it back. Take the water back, Mrs. Pizer. That doesn't count, see? Now let's go on to this last one, and I'm sure you won't need any help with this, Mr. Pizer. Here we go. The farmers are busy with hoes, plows, and rakes. The hen house is chock full of chickens and... Oh, eggs and chocolate. Oh, eggs is right. Well, he got the hint that time. Oh, this poor boy is really dripping. Oh, if you needed too much help. So, let's add $10 more to his score, and here's Jack Berry to give us the final score.
Well,
$10 more to Mrs. Pizer's score.
All right, here's the final. Mr. Pizer wound up with $8. Mrs. Pizer has 26.
So, ladies, who's the better half of the Pizer family? Congratulations, Mrs. Pizer. You walked off with the honors entitling you to an extra special grand prize for the better half of your family. May we present you with this beautiful world-famous 17 jewel full of the goddess of time.
I earned it.
You earned it, and she got it. You're right. Well, if you look at the results of the night, we find husbands and wives are wound up in our second reader's roll, but there are 2 wives and only 1 husband, so tonight the gentlemen are the better halves of the family. Join us again next week at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, for another stormy session of the better half. Until then, this is your old friend Tiny Ruffner bidding you good night all.
The Better Half is a Jack Byrne production and originates from the Mutual Playhouse in New York. Jack Barry speaking, and this is the Mutual Broadcasting System.